The greatest scientist in the world, Vegapunk, has to be one of the biggest mysteries in all of One Piece. And thanks to chapter 1061, Oda has given us crucial clues to the true nature of this mad scientist. What if I told you that the name of Egghead Island connects to not only the shape of Vegapunk's head, but also the Jolly Roger we saw in space? It goes way deeper than that, and Oda has cleverly sprinkled clues about Vegapunk all throughout the story. So today you're gonna learn exactly why Vegapunk is what I like to call an alien scientist. But to explain the case of Vegapunk, we actually need to talk about a totally different character, NL. I find it hilarious how this electric dude manages to find his way into every conversation. And one way to make me feel electric is by you hitting the like, subscribe, and notification bell to never miss more videos like this. But anyways, NL was a great villain. He was a great character with this god complex and really cool devil fruit. He had some interesting depth to him and he parallels Emu in a lot of ways, so he's used as a function for foreshadowing. But one important detail about NL is at the end of Skypiea, he went to the moon, bro. He went to space. I find this to be really cool and interesting because as Luffy's just a regular pirate, a regular character in the One Piece world, he's just sailing island to island. He's not thinking about outer space. He's not thinking about the moon. But then we have this villain where his whole big mission was to go to the moon. Now, during his time in space, NL did come across a lot of discoveries to not only himself, but to us as readers and watchers of One Piece. There's a lot of information to be had and acknowledged about the world of One Piece because of this cover story. Now, one of the very first things that NL found when he was on the moon was another space pirate that had the Jolly Roger of what appears to be an egghead. Now, whether you call it egghead or long head, elongated head, it doesn't really matter. The whole point is that this Jolly Roger is made to symbolize the captain. It's made to symbolize the people. They all have elongated heads, and I want you to hold on to that information for now. Now, if we look back to Caesar Clown's flashback in the way past, not only did we hear Vegapunk's voice, but then we also got to see his elongated head. Now, a lot of people notice this. It seems like he has a long head, and even myself, because I have a Vegapunk video that's almost a year old, but I felt like I needed to revamp it as I have way more details to bring up today. But anyways, my point is that it seems like Vegapunk's head shape might be correlated with the space pirate Jolly Roger. Furthermore, in the cover story, NL did interact with a lot of automatas, aka robots, and as he continued traveling, he found tons of automatas, which is heavily implying that this is where they are manufactured. They are stored on the moon, hundreds of them, thousands of them, because that's where they originate from. The automatas are technology, they are robots that come from the moon. Now, interestingly enough, during that same exact cover story, we did get pages about Karakuri Island, which is obviously on the Blue Sea. This isn't a location on the moon, don't get it confused. Karakuri Island is on the Blue Sea. Now, the important context here is that Professor Tsukimi is simply reverse engineering these robots, these automatas. A lot of people miss this point. He is simply reverse engineering them to understand how they work and to repair them. But what makes this so crucial is that out of all possible islands, all possible characters in the entire story, it is Dr. Vegapunk that comes from Karakuri Island. So now you can easily infer that the automatas are a piece of technology that originated on the moon and they made their way to Earth. Now, there's an important detail, there's an important fact that solidifies this case. During the cover story, NL found hieroglyphs that happen to tell us about the history of the world, kind of like the poneglyphs. Now, I find it interesting because you have the poneglyphs, which is this text, is just words detailing about the world and its history, and then you have something like the hieroglyphs, which is the same kind of concept, but done through visuals, done through art. I think it's a really cool contrast that Oda's trying to do here. But what needs to be addressed immediately is that Oda essentially said the moon city was also named Burka. Lacking natural resources, they flew to the blue planet. Now, this is concrete facts. This is concrete evidence that there are people on the planet of One Piece and there's technology on the planet of One Piece that originated from the moon. So not only does Vegapunk's head look elongated just like the space pirate's Jolly Roger, not only is his island named Egghead Island just like the space pirate's Jolly Roger, but now he was born on the same island with moon technology. That's 3 different ties, that's 3 different connections from Vegapunk to the moon. But wait, there's more. Because if Vegapunk was truly born on Karakuri Island, I wonder why he'd not only have an egg-shaped head, but also be connected to the space pirates on that flag. That, in combination with having high levels of technology, makes me believe that Vegapunk originated from the moon. And if this is true, then this is exciting news because that makes Vegapunk the first character we know of from the moon. And this would also be a great conclusion because someone like Vegapunk is supposed to be 500 years in advance, at least according to Kuma. So if he himself is deep-rooted to the moon, then this would explain loads of things about his character and his skill set. Vegapunk is essentially an alien scientist. Now, as far as why he looks like the way he does in chapter 1061, I think it's more than what meets the eye. Seeing how in NL's cover story, the automatas have a conscience along with emotions and desires, it seems like robot technology with a human essence is possible. Like when you first saw these automatas, be real, you didn't expect them to be robots, which is completely fair, neither did I. But that's my point. It seems like there can be technology in One Piece that come off as human, emotions, expressions, whatever, but they're actually robots. So that could be the case with the girl in chapter 1061. She's just a robot, she's just an automata, and again, what solidifies this is her shirt says Punk 02. She's a robot, she's an automata. Now, it's not only ties to the moon that tells us about the nature and origin of Vegapunk, but it's also the appearance of the girl we saw in 1061. If you look closely, you would notice that she wears goggles while on Egghead Island. Now, the simple approach to simple conclusion is that it's a snow island, it's really cold, of course she would wear goggles. But that's exactly what Oda wants to do. He wants to throw a curveball and blindside you from what I'm about to tell you. I find it funny how Vegapunk is wearing goggles much similar to how every single Revolutionary Army member wears these goggles. Now, this might seem like a coincidental, which is understandable. It could just be a complete coincidence, except we need to talk about a certain Revolutionary Army member that gives the case away. Lindbergh, the commander of the South Army. Now, it appears that this mink type motherfucker might actually have a real life inspiration, and that inspiration would come from a man known as Charles Lindbergh, an aviator slash military officer. Basically, this guy was a pilot, he entered in wars, flew all around the world, he was an aviator. Now, if we look back to chapter 1061 and look at Vegapunk's appearance, she's giving off the same exact vibes as Lindbergh. Shout out to my boy Joe 3SCO Theories for pointing this out, but not only does she have goggles, she also has an aviator helmet that gives off strong Amelia Earhart vibes. And if you don't know who Amelia Earhart is, she's essentially an aviator just like Charles Lindbergh. So not only does she wear goggles like the Revs, and she seems to be based on an aviator just like Lindbergh is, this leads me to believe that Vegapunk is connected to the Revolutionary Army. And if you're still not convinced, let's talk about one more key detail about Lindbergh. If you look closely at how he's drawn, you can see a pressure gauge on his suit. Now, the only other time I've seen this is from the Space Pirates and NL's cover story, which we addressed earlier. Vegapunk is connected to the moon. So my hypothesis is that Vegapunk dresses like a Rev member and is based off an aviator like a Rev member and is connected to these pressure gauges like a Rev member simply because Vegapunk is connected to the Revolutionary Army. And it's not a reach at all, especially when you take a basic look at Caesar Clown's flashback. Vegapunk was yelling at Caesar. He wanted Caesar arrested for his unethical experiments. This would imply that Vegapunk has decent morals and decent ethics like us, and the same could be said for the Revolutionary Army. What could also help bridge the gap between Dragon and Vegapunk is the one and only Bartholomew Kuma. I find Kuma to be an interesting character because he definitely does not like the world government, to say the least. So I find it very odd that he himself was used by Vegapunk for technology purposes. Since Vegapunk works for the world government, then this means that Kuma himself would be helping the world's government. Not only that, but Kuma also became a warlord, which is again helping the world government. But what conflicts with these two facts is that Dragon had Kuma working for him as well. Seeing how Dragon is a calculated and methodical person, it's possible that Kuma subjugated himself to an extent by giving himself up over to Vegapunk. Kuma, or all of Dragon's followers for that matter, are loyal, and since Kuma hates the world government, I can see Kuma giving himself up for the greater good. This would also explain why Ivankov didn't know much about Kuma when they spoke with Dragon, and the icing on the cake when it comes to this idea has to do with Luffy and the Thousand Sunny. I find it way too convenient that Kuma being connected to Vegapunk, you know, a marine slash world government official, allowed Kuma to protect the Thousand Sunny, which by the way, we need to give our flowers to Kuma. He's the motherfucking GOAT for that. Not only does this go against marine ideology, but why would Vegapunk go out of his way to allow Kuma to do this? The simple answer is that Vegapunk is working with Dragon, the father of Straw Hat Luffy. What takes this a step further is that Egghead Island is ridden with sword members. Now, it's not exactly confirmed, but Oda has been heavily implying for a very long time that the purpose of Sword is to be a secret marine faction opposing the world government ideals. Seeing how throughout the story the world government has been terrible people, and seeing how they had to arrest Vegapunk just to get him to work for them, this would conclude that Vegapunk isn't exactly on their side. They forced him to work for the world government, so why wouldn't he be a part of SWORD, a secret marine faction opposing the world government? And I could see a sob story coming in where Vegapunk was living lavish as a good person until the world government threatened him to work for them, and now it's up to Luffy to save him from this chokehold. So my conclusion today is that Vegapunk is an alien scientist from the moon working with the Revolutionary Army. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more videos like this. If you're curious on why the Will of D stands for Diva, the Will of Diva, I have an insane video about it to my side. You definitely gotta check it out. But this is the Demon King, and I'm signing out. Peace.